What's up everyone, Dave Dustin here, gonna make another video to rewrite some comics history. This is gonna have another undocumented comic in it. I just found it, got shipped over. Package arrived from the UK, from Birmingham, UK. It's out by like London, England area. And it's from the same sellers I got this Spellbound from last time. There was another auction with a whole bunch more books and I won some of those. Got some 50s British horror and some cartoon arts. Ariel over there, fantastic seller, sold these books. It was Deceased Relatives collection, and they had fantastic taste in rated material. I just love all these books, all these 50s horror comics and all these cartoon art stuff are just my favorite books. You see, got a whole bunch of cartoon art stuff up on the rack. It's all from Glasgow, Scotland. And then they also had some of their books were made in Republic of Ireland, made in Eric. And it's a famous little company. I love collecting all their books. And I got some more of their books now, and nobody knows what's inside these books. Totally undocumented. I'm going to look inside this, and there's also some upgrades that I have from my collection. So let's get into this package. This just arrived from Birmingham, UK. All right, there we go. Bubble wrap. Oh, we have another envelope inside. Okay. Right. Let's see what we have in here. Okay, I'll start with this one. All right, so first comic I got in here, Black Magic number 14. Arnold Book Company, 1954. Got this awesome ad on the back for EC Comics, Tales from the Crypt and the Haunt of Fear. Love those ads for EC Comics and the British books there. Black Magic 14. So that's a nice upgrade because I already have the whole series, but 14, that was my worst condition copy of all my Black Magic. See, there's a piece about to fall off the back. There's a big spine split on the front, at the top, and the bottom. Big spine split at the back. It's worst condition of all my Black Magic comics. So I've upgraded that. I got this one here. Not falling apart. So that's nice. It's a nice shape. A couple little creases on it. All the comics in this collection were just fantastic condition. They're all in really nice shape. Okay. Next, I'm going to go to this one next because it's another issue of Black Magic. So this is Black Magic number 16. So this was the final issue of Black Magic. And you see on the back of this one, it's got advertised Tales from the Crypt, Haunt of Fear, and the Vault of Horror. And of course, the Vault of Horror was not published. So at the end of the year 1954, Arnold Books gave a refund to the distributors who had prepaid for Vault of Horror and Black Magic album number 2. Both those books were advertised. They were never published. Just none have ever turned up. They got a refund letter. Arnold Books. Number 16, final copy. So I had that one as well. Also, you know, it had a big crease over here. It's got the crease down here. It's got like a slit between the books on the spine. So, another crease. So I upgraded that. It's a nice little upgrade. Black Magic number 16, the final one. So there's 2 of the books. Okay, so now, first we'll look at the undocumented comic. So this is Fight Comics. Look on the back. It's got a neat ad on the back. It's got watch out for true love confessions. It's new, it's different, it's daring. On sale shortly. So that's kind of neat because I have the true love confessions over here. This is really cool because it's a romance comic. It's got a full romance comic inside, and it's got some other stuff also printed. It's got some stuff from like Fight Comics. Fight Comics 63. It's got some Senorita Rio and Tiger Girl, Rip Carson. But then it also has, inside it, it has a horror text story from Nightmare number 12, April 1954. So it has a horror text story, and it has a horror story that's on the inside of the back cover and the outside of the back cover. And the horror story that's in it is it's a British written story, but it is completely swiped from Ghost Rider number 11, Tortures of the Damned. It's a 2-page story, and they had covered it up. They had put a wraparound fake cover on the back, and it wrapped around and glued onto the front, and they covered the horror story up. So if you looked at the back, you didn't know there was any horror stories inside it. So that's neat that it has that advertisement on the back. So anyway, we'll take a look. I'll take this Spellbound here for a second. Fight Comics Attack, it says on the front. It's listed on the Grand Comic database as Fight Comics Attack. The word attack is not in the indicia. There was photos online when the seller had them, and it showed just Fight Comics, and that's what's on the back. And then on top of that, it's got to be 1953 anyway. It has the 1951, I believe, is the year that's online. But they have the wrong year, and it had no photo before the auction. What's online right now is a photo of this book right here, is what is featured online. If you go to the database and you see the photo, you can tell it's got the same crease at the bottom here, and there was no photo before the auction. Now someone's taken the photo and uploaded it. I've got other comics people have taken photos of mine that I've posted online, or from the sellers from auctions that I've won, and people have uploaded those online. So that's neat, having a comic featured online. It'll picture be there forever. Fight Comics. So let's see what's inside. Oh, and also this, so the cover, this is the American original cover, Atomic Attack. So that's Atomic Attack number 8 by Youthful. It's October 1953. So this must have been after October 1953. Might have been even probably 1954. So when we open this up, let's see what's inside here. So first off, on the inside of the cover is a Senorita Rio story. So that's probably from Fight Comics. I'm not sure which one. They've reprinted a bunch of Fight Comics. Cartoon Art has, I think around like the number 660 to 65, 1949 time range. So this is probably from one of those books, like 1949 Fight Comics. Then we have The Island That Disappeared. Blood and Guts. Okay, so this is, I have the story content list. So this is the full comic. It's the Atomic Attack number 8. The full American comic has been reprinted here. They did that a lot where they reprint a full American comic and then multiple stories from multiple other comics also inside the same one for the higher page count. The Attack text story. Expedition Chopper. We're still in the same comic. These stories are all there. I think that was the end of it. Oh no, Heroes Are Born Not Made, still going. Even had the ads, even had the American ad in there. Saw that. Right here. Yeah, it's got New York addresses. The American ads were reprinted in black and white. Still going with the war comic. K.O. Kirby. Okay, so that'll be the end. So this is now, we're probably into Fight Comics again. It might be a different issue than the first story. It's a K.O. Kirby story that was in Fight Comics. And Rip Carson, Risks Unlimited. So this is also one of the Fight Comics. It's just like Senorita Rio again. Maybe that she continued from the front. Yeah. Oh, and there's another American ad. New York. Space Rangers by Hugh Fitzhugh. Well, that's strange. So there's a sci-fi story in here as well. This looks like it might be like a Planet Comics. Like Cartoon Art reprinted some of the Planet Comics, like late 40s also. So this might be from Planet Comics. Yeah, it's got a really neat sci-fi story in here too. That's different. So we have a war comic and we have fight comics. Now we have some sci-fi. There's another American ad. Hooks Devlin Special Agent. So that's also fight comics. We're back into another fight comics. And that's the end. Well, that's neat. So it's got a sci-fi story in there. I didn't know that was going to be in there. That's real cool. Have to have fun reading that later. So yeah, totally undocumented. And this actual book is what is photoed on the Grand Comic Database. Someone took the picture from the seller and put it up there recently. That's cool. Very rare. Very, very rare stuff. And finally, from the package, the last book, Spellbound Magazine. So, there's Spellbound Magazine. This is 68 pages, black and white. It's got an original British cover, I believe. It's all black and white inside. Ads on the back. It's Spellbound Magazine, published monthly by Cartoon Art Productions Limited, 17 Oswald Street, Glasgow. By arrangement with Magazine Enterprises, Roadville No. 1, Lower Mount Pleasant Ave, Rathmines. There's Spellbound Magazine. That's real cool because this is an all horror comic. So it's got like a, let me find this first. It has all of this Nightmare number 12 from April 1954. It's got that full comic reprinted in black and white, American horror comic. And then it also has, inside the covers, it has the story Torture of the Damned from Ghost Rider number 11. It has 3 stories from Ghost Comics number 8 from 1953. And it has 2 stories from Monster number 1 from January 1953. So that's all contained in Spellbound Magazine right there. I already had a Spellbound. Here's mine. You can see mine has some tape on the spine. Last couple pages have little chunks out of the bottom corner there. Just need a bit of an upgrade. And I love the all horror comics. All horror cover to cover. I love the horror comics from the 50s. So this is fantastic. So I got Spellbound Magazine, and from the same collection, the same seller as this Spellbound that I won at the earlier auction. So what's different about this is, there's a lot of things different about this. This is just called Spellbound in the indicia. So that was Spellbound Magazine, and then this one also, it's completely different than that. Spellbound, published monthly by Magazine Enterprises, Roadville No. 1, Lower Mount Pleasant Ave, Rathmines, and distributed by Cartoon Art Productions Limited, 17 Oswald Street, Glasgow, C1, made in the Republic of Ireland. So the other one was published by Cartoon Arts, it said, but this one was published by Magazine Enterprises. So they have a bunch of comics actually that have that published by Magazine Enterprises, and they just distribute them. And that's one of them. And what's different about this is I found out that what this must be is repackaged remainder American comics. Like, this is really, really strange. I'm so glad I got this. This is so different. It's got 100 pages. It is 3 full comics. So this one is like most British comics at the time. You'll have 1 full American comic in black and white, and then multiple stories from multiple other American comics. This is 3 full American comics. So just to go over that one again, what the books are inside Spellbound is The Unseen number 6 from September 1952, full U.S. horror comic in full color. This is the book inside. And then the next book inside is Real Life Comics number 59, September 1952 as well. And then the third book is Dogface Dooley number 4, also 1952. But the book wasn't from 52, because on the inside covers, which is also strange, so many strange things about this, 2 shilling price. They don't have any other books that I've ever seen with a 2 shilling price. It has 100 pages. I've never seen them do another book, I don't believe, with 100 pages. It's all color. So there's a hint right there. Is they did all color books, but they weren't printed this nicely. They were never this large. There's just so many things that point towards this being Remainder Comics. You can tell when you look at them, it is 3 completely separate books inside. When you look at the pages, you can see the pages come out to different lengths. You can tell where the books begin and end, the different books inside. Now, inside this, also, it has the Visigraph. Well, that's very strange. It's like they just slapped this together just to put it out real quick. So it has the Visigraph, and it's on the inside of the back cover. So the Visigraph was in, like, Planet pulps, like Planet Comics, or the pulp comics, though. It wasn't even in the comic books. And it was like, letters to the editor. It makes no sense. There has nothing to do with any of the comics inside here, have nothing to do with letters to the editor of sci-fi pulp comics. So it doesn't make any sense to have it in there. I don't know why they would have ever done that. It's like they're just trying to just fill the space with something. Like, well, I don't know why they wouldn't have used anything they've printed before. They could have reused any comic strip, but no, they put letters to the editor from the Visigraph. And usually there's never a back cover where there's a second cover. It looks even nicer than the front cover. It's like a painted cover. It's this crime cover. It's been said that this is probably original British artwork, but they wouldn't use this on comics. They would use this on like novels or maybe pulps. It might be on like a crime novel or a romance novel or a pulp. And they put this beautiful thing on the back, which is strange because usually they have ads on the back. So it's so many weird things about this book. But the major thing is when you look at it, it is inked so very nicely. You can tell this is original American comics. It has to be. Like, the inking is so well done, so solid, the colors, so vibrant. See, Cartoon Arts, they did color comics. They did single, like some publishers, they did single comic colors. They did like one page will be red and white, the next page will be green and white, the next page yellow and white, and they'd alternate. Cartoon Arts, you can see some of the books up there like Buster and Super Duper and that. They have 2 comics. They have 2 colors on the comics. They have red and blue. And then they also did full color comics. Cartoon Arts did. So like here's Best in the West. Oh, here's funny too. It's actually Best of the West. I don't know, but in the higher numbers they changed the word on the cover to in. But in the indicia it still says Best of the West. Then they have a typo here where in every issue they put the U upside down, so it looks like a letter N. That's kind of funny. But it's another Cartoon Art production. So this one, yeah, published monthly by Cartoon Art Productions, 17 Oswald Street, Glasgow. So it's the same time frame by arrangement with Magazine Enterprises. But when you look inside at this full color comic, the colors aren't as vibrant. They're kind of splotchy. It's not inked as nicely as American comics are. Slightly off register, but it's just some people say it has its own charm, which it really does. Like these, like foreign comics, these British editions, UK editions are fantastic. I just love these things, but you can tell that they're full color. It's not the same highest quality as the American originals, which this book would have came out at the same time as this one. And this one, the inking is so well done. These have to be original American comics. So these must be remainders that were sent over, and then Magazine Enterprises made a book out of them. They took 3 remainder books, stapled them together, and then glued a special cover on. And this front cover, this is actually the first book inside, The Unseen, the horror comic. This is the spot illustration from the text story. It's not the best looking cover. There's so many better things they could have put on the cover, but that's what they used. And they just slapped this cover together. Like I said, it's got letters to the editor inside with nothing to do with the comic. It's got a back cover. It doesn't even have their usual house ads, like, or crossword puzzles or anything. Like here, they have this on a lot. They have the crossword puzzles, or you have to get like word findings and that. Scrambled up words. They have puzzles for the kids. That's on a lot of the Cartoon Art books. you've never see a second cover. It's so strange, everything about that book. But yeah, I got that in, and totally undocumented. There's still, I think, no photo or anything online about that. I got that just a little while ago. I'll just give you a bit of a history lesson about these remaindered copies. We got here Children's Comics, a guide for parents and teachers by George H. Pumphrey. So this is like 1955, this book. So this tells you a bit about these remainder books, because, I mean, I have seen a lot of comics, and I've seen a whole bunch of British and UK editions at auctions. I have never seen until now remaindered American comics where a British company over UK has put their own cover wrap around these remaindered comics and then resold them. I have never seen any example of this until now. And for cartoon art, this is the only book that I have ever heard of or seen that is by cartoon art where they reuse actual full color American comics. Like, most of their comics are black and white inside, so you know that it was published over there because it's not in color. All the American stuff is in color, and the stuff that is in color, you can tell that it's not the American original. The colors aren't the same. Like, so strange. Anyway, something about this, just to give everyone a bit of a history lesson while we're at it with the remainders. American type comics in Britain. Before the Second World War, American type comics reached this country sporadically. Unsold remainders were bought in bulk and sold in multiple stores or on market stalls. Some came in as packing material for other imports. Their circulation was not large. And then it goes on. During the last war, American servicemen stationed in this country were able to buy the comics through their canteens. When they had finished with them, they often passed them on to local British families. Because of the paper shortage, our own native British comics were in very short supply, and children welcomed the American comics. As after the war, American publishers of comics decided to exploit this new market, but the dollar shortage prevented direct imports. Then it goes on further down. I'll just read this too. Gordon Lansborough, in an article in Rotary Service in 1952, describes very graphically the arrival of an American businessman at London Airport shortly after the end of the last war. He describes his strapped and bulging briefcase as a Pandora's box, for it was filled with American comics. The man was a representative of an American publishing firm. His first action was to insert an advertisement in a trade journal offering the publishing rights of established American comics. These rights were to cost between £60 and £150 per issue. There was very little risk involved and only a small capital was necessary. With the publishing rights went the matrices. These mats, as they are known in the publishing trade, are molds made from a papier-mâché-like substance. The American publisher takes impressions on the mats from his blocks and type matter before printing his own comics. So this would have been examples of stuff that, the books that, I don't think it would have been sent over as ballast on ships, but it would have been sent over as piles of remainders that were just sent over there and sold real cheaply to them, and then they repackaged them, which I've never seen until now. That's how rare these things are. They just did very little of them from what I've seen. And then it goes on. The American publisher's offer was most attractive. There were no editorial costs and no artists or writers to pay. It was found that print runs of between 50,000 and 250,000 could be made and sold. So I've heard that a number of few times. I've heard also that they've said, some big publishers, that anything less than a 50,000 print run just wasn't worth it for them. But then smaller publishers like Cartoon Arts, they probably did smaller print runs in the tens of thousands. But 50 to 100,000 is very common. And then it even says here, up to 250,000. And these so I just skipped a whole bunch also, by the way, but these comics publishers often acted as agents for remainders imported from countries like Australia and Eire. It's Irish for Ireland. They bought them at, say, a penny a copy and sold them at 6p or a shilling. These were often objectionable comics. So there's some stuff written about these right here. So these remainder comics. But like I said, I've never seen these before, like anything like this. So I got this, just so everyone knows too, as I had the last mail call, I got 3 comics. It was actually the Spellbound, and it came over with Canadian Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and Commando Comics. So these didn't come from the same place. These were a friend of mine collected these up for me. I have this great friend over there, like collects books up for me from auctions and sends them over. And I've even bought a whole bunch of his from his own personal collection. Just fantastic, high grade comics and just extremely, extremely rare. My friend Mick Harvey over there, I can't even express how much I appreciate everything he's done for me. Just a great guy. And this came from Mick Harvey's collection, this Commando Comics. So this is fantastic. You have to see the other video I did about this. So of course, from Mick Harvey's collection, Commando Comics has a story that involves World War, and it is taking place in Toronto, Canada. Up here where I'm from Toronto, Canada. And this is like a 1940 story with a Scottish hero, superhero, comes to Toronto, Canada and helps fight the war. So that is just a fantastic book. I got that. And then he had got this at auction for me, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the Canadian edition. Early copy. That's, of course, the very first horror comic ever published was the full horror comic, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Cover to cover, it is all horror, classic comics. And that came with this Spellbound. And I was just going to read you another little tidbit about Remainder Comics. So this is Nostalgia About Comics, compiled by Phil Clark. A selection of Canadian coverless comics that could be bought in the UK during the 40s. The majority of these were remainders. The retailer would rip off the covers as proof of unsold copies, but instead of scrapping the contents, they would be packaged up and used as ballast. Upon entry to these shores, they were then sold either without the original covers or occasionally with special fake covers printed for them. So then it goes on to show some Canadian comics. These are actually all from the same series, 1946 Century Publications, Superior Comics. This was their first line of comics. These were actually not remainders. These were just published this way without covers. They were supposed to all have covers. They were advertised in a house ad with covers, but only like half their comics. They had like a few dozen they came out with that year, their first year of doing a big line of comics. Half of them had covers, and the covers were mismatched. They mix and match the covers. It makes no sense whatsoever, but like here's one of the ones, Jeep Comics number 2, 1946. That's not Jeep Comics inside. It actually has Golden Lad number 3 inside, because they mix and matched all their covers for some strange reason that makes no sense whatsoever. And then the coverless ones, like Snowman Comics, this is actually Tally Ho. It was advertised as Tally Ho, but they produced it with no cover. So they overprinted comics, they overprinted Price 6D, and this in the indicia is Snowman Comics, published by Crestwood Publishing Company, 26 Denison Square, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Printed in Canada, all rights copyrighted in Canada. This is the first professional artwork by famous artist Frank Frazetta back in the 40s. So they had a whole bunch. These ones, they have 90 price, and they'll have some have a 60 price, some have a shilling. They also have a 15-cent price, and some have a 10-cent price. I'm told that the ones that have 10-cent, 50-cent prices were probably also sold here in Canada, and people have found copies in Canada that came from, they believe, original owner collections. So these ones with covers, we did have some of them here, but I think most of them went to the UK because that's where I see them for sale the most. I don't see them for sale here very often. The ones with no covers, I don't see any for sale here. I've bought all mine from the UK. The ones with no covers were solely distributed in the UK. They're not remainders. We never had Tally Ho comics here in Canada or any of the other ones that had no covers. But I have seen other books where they did do that from here in Canada. I saw a Bell Features book from, I believe, 1950 or so. And that's what they did, is they took some Canadian remainder comics, they removed the covers, they took like 4 comics, stapled them together, and then a cover was put around them, and it was called Jumbo Comics. And it had, right on the cover, printed in Canada. But that's what they actually did, they actually did take remainder comics, and they were sold over there and resold over in the UK in their markets. So that did happen. And this is the only example I've ever seen, because they're so rare nowadays. Most of them just get tossed out. This one had a cover, but like I said, online, no photos of this online, no information about it online anywhere. And what I love is it has a full horror comic inside. So That's really awesome. I like the full horror comics. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the show. I can leave you off with this as we were looking at the EC Comics, the ads on the back covers of those Black Magics, the number 16, the last Black Magic. Here they are. Here's Tales from the Crypt, number 1, British edition. Here's Tales from the Crypt, number 2, the British edition. And here's the Haunt of Fear, number 1, the British edition. And of course, there was no Vault of Horror. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Next time. Cheers.